definitely see that happening.
Now, do you think that ruins the rivalry at the end of the year? Does it make those games less meaningful? If Michigan isn't gonna go out there and try and win the game, does it really matter anymore?
See,
because
right. Yeah, that's where it gets tough.
Because right now, even if Ohio State were to fall, let's say that Ohio State falls apart, and for whatever reason, and they're 5-7 or 5-6 going into the last game.
Right.
And Michigan is 11-0 going into the last game. I can't imagine right now anyone saying rest Shea Patterson. It'd still be go beat Ohio State. But if you're looking into the future where you're looking at three postseason games, and especially if you're number 3 in the country and you're looking at 3 postseason games going into the going for a championship.
Right.
It's got to be really tempting to rest some of your better players or only play them a half to keep them from getting injured. Going into that big game, going into the playoffs, and everybody talks about it.
I mean, Bud, do you see that scenario where maybe they just play the first half, then they rest them?
I could see that happening, yeah.
Just in case.
Especially
now, you still run that risk of them getting injured, but what I'm saying is instead of playing them the entire game, you play them just the first half and say, okay, that's it. We're going to the playoff. We need you to be there. We don't want you to get hurt. So that's a really, really tough question to answer because if it comes down to a rivalry game, do you really want your best players on the sideline? That's tough. That's tough.
But and is it? And then you got to make the decision what's more important. Is it beating our rivals more important?
Or winning a national championship.
Or is winning a playoff game to win a playoff game to play in a national. Because if you're expanding to 8 or 10 or 12 or how many if we go all the way out and we're playing 24, the top 25 lineup and square off.
Right.
And all the bowl games are playoff games now.
Yeah.
Or a vast majority of the bowls, and what's more important? A meaningless game at the end of the year against a quote unquote rival, or a playoff game that's going to springboard you to a national title shot. And then, is it more important to win? What's more important for and you got to think about recruiting. And it's not like the NFL where you can just go pay a guy to come play.
Correct.
It is.
Well, they're trying to get to that point to be paid. Well, and they might be getting paid soon. So yeah.
Right. And so and that's just kind of what my thoughts on. I just kind of pick your brain because I've been thinking about that a couple weeks ago, and I hadn't gotten a chance to ask you about it, and I was just curious what you thought. If you thought would it ruin the rivalries to have a Josh Day, I can't remember his name, Josh Fields on the sideline, against Michigan, what if they're both, if Michigan and Ohio State are both, number 1 and number 2 in the country, both at 11-0, what, do both teams rest their starters? Because, both teams have got the playoffs locked up, and,
that would, I think that would hurt more, Bud, the rival games more than it would hurt the playoff. That would hurt.
Yeah, I think so.
Hurt the end of the season rival games more than that. It would hurt the rival games more than anything else. To be honest with you, because if it came down to that scenario, where you're both undefeated and now you both are locked in a playoff spot, that would be hard. That would be hard to say, okay, I'm going to rest my starters because we're already in the playoff. We don't need to win this game. But on the flip side, you lose a rivalry game, and that could hurt recruiting, because a lot of times a lot of these kids will go, oh, well, I'm going to go to Michigan because they beat Ohio State, or I'm going to go to Ohio State because they beat Michigan. That if you have a kid who's trying to decide between those two schools, well, Ohio State has the upper hand, so I'm going to go to Columbus instead of going to Ann Arbor, and then or vice versa, or Michigan's got the advantage, so I'm going to go to Ann Arbor instead of going to Columbus. Yeah, that's a tough question to answer. That's a good question, to be honest with you. When it came down to those rival games, it would be very interesting to see how they would do that, how they would determine, should we bench our players, should we not bench them? Yeah, that's a tough question to answer. Tough question to answer.
And I think that right now, it doesn't really matter, because if you're looking at, if, let's say, Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Michigan, and Oklahoma are all undefeated at the end of the year, all 11-0 going into the last week.
Right.
Right now there's 6 teams in 4 spots. So, Alabama, Michigan, and Ohio State if Michigan wins, they're pretty much in, and if Ohio State wins, they're pretty much in. So right now, you got to play. There's no sitting anybody or resting anybody. You got to play everybody. But if you start looking at 8 or 10 teams, and you've got Ohio State, Michigan, Oklahoma, Alabama, Clemson, all undefeated, and everybody else has got 2 or 3 losses.
Mm-hmm.
Now you got 8 teams in the playoffs. The worst you're probably going to be is 8. You've gone undefeated, you beat everybody else, but your last game, your last rival, and they're a great team. They're a top 10 team in the country.
Right.
And now does it even behoove you to play your players?
Yeah. No, that's a good point. That's, like I said, that's a tough question to answer. Honestly, a tough question, because in the future, I mean, I could definitely see, to me, but I think they'll cap it off at 8. I don't see a 10 team playoff. I think they'll cap it at 8. The reason I say that is because as long as the 5 Power 5 conference champions are in it, which right now that doesn't happen, because one of them is not going to be in the playoff, whether it's Ohio State or Michigan out of the Big Ten, or Oklahoma or Texas out of the Big 12, or Washington and Oregon or Utah out of the Pac-12. Somebody's going to get the shoe, and until they can move it to at least 6 and at least include the all 5 conference winners, then until they get it to that point, because someone's going to get screwed. Someone gets screwed every year anyway, because if you win your conference, you should be in the playoff. My opinion. You should be vying for a title if you win your conference. So if Michigan wins the Big Ten, and, you should be in the playoff. But you're not, because let's say, for example, you go undefeated and you have Alabama and LSU. One of them has 1 loss, and that 1 loss comes against each other, and Alabama wins or LSU wins the SEC title. They put Alabama in there and not Michigan or not Oregon or not Utah, because Alabama's only got 1 loss. So there's where I have an issue with it right now, with them only having 4 teams in. So I could definitely see in the next, I would say, 5 years, them going to 6 or even 8. Because, again, it all, like earlier we were talking about, all comes down to money. So the more money they can make, they're going to do it. The NCAA will find a way to do it.
And you can't tell me that those other the bowl sponsors are looking at going Memphis and Southern Methodist or a playoff game. Yeah, we'll take a playoff game. Thank you. Absolutely. Have a nice day.
Yep. Yeah, they would take.
We have.
Go ahead, bud.
We have to take number 6 at number 10. Oh, woe is me.
What I was going to say is, they could take the top 6 bowl games, like the big 6 games, and rotate them. Or if they wanted to give these smaller bowls a chance, rotate the 6 bowl games that you make the national championship. So these smaller bowl games would get big praise. I'm not saying that, I'm not going to say like the Outback Bowl, because that's here in Tampa every year. We have a Big Ten school against the SEC every year. That would be cool if that happened to be a playoff game down here, because that would be for the state of Florida. Wherever these bowl games were at would be great, but they're not going to do that. They're going to keep them, the Orange Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, the Rose Bowl. Those are going to be the big bowls that they all have these championship games in, and the playoff games are all going to be in those particular bowl games and stuff. So, yeah, that's a really, really good question when it comes to that. It's a good way to think outside the box, because that would be very, very interesting to pick, to see who would do what. If they were undefeated or in the playoff, would you bench your players in the rival game to hold on to them to make sure that they were healthy for the playoff? Wow. That's a tough question to answer. That's a tough question.
And it has to be in a game where it wouldn't matter against a team that beating wouldn't help your chances in the playoffs.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely.
And we've seen it over the last, there's cycles to this. And right now, Ohio State and Alabama are on the up cycle. Eventually, it'll cycle back around, and it'll be 4 other, it's Clemson, Alabama, Georgia right now. And in 5 years, it'll be 4, it'll be other teams that are on the up cycle, that have all the recruits, that are getting all, and Alabama and Clemson and Ohio State will be crap. And those fan bases, you got to relish in it right now. Well, the good times are here, and that's, I have a hard time hating on everyone but Ohio State, of course.
Well, I don't blame you for hating the Buckeyes. That's perfectly fine. I understand completely.
Right.
I don't hate anybody, Bud, but the team that the Gators are playing this week, I dislike. I'm sorry.
Right.
Going to the SEC, I don't like is the Volunteers. And I'll tell you straight up to any Volunteers face, I don't like you. I just don't like you. Just do not like you. So I know where you're coming from, and it's your rival, especially that rivalry is one of the oldest in all of sports, next to the Packers and the Bears, the Yankees and the Red Sox. I mean, you can go back to a lot of those. That rivalry's been. So I understand why you hate them. You can hate them all you want, man. Because I hope and pray, please let that happen this year. Beat them, please. Beat them this year. Beat them this year, please.
All I want for Christmas
is a Michigan win. Yeah, that's.
Yes.
Please.
Yes.
Just please beat them this year, please. But see, here's the bad thing, Bud. No matter what we say and what we do, they're always going to come back with this. They were the first team to win the college football playoff. That was the wrong team to win the first playoff, because they will use that against every other team in the country from here until eternity. Well, we were the first team to win the playoff. And they will ride any other franchise. And you guys get rode the most, being that you're their rival. So you get rode the most of anybody. Oh, well, at least we won the playoff. We were the first team ever to do it. So, but I can give you a perfect example. When they played the Gators, this was the first national championship. Chris Leak was our quarterback. I was in Orlando at Disney World on vacation with my family. And I still have this shirt, by the way. It says, "Beat the nuts out of OSU." And it was a Gator shirt. And on the back of the shirt, it says that nuts don't mix with salsa, because I think it was the Fiesta Bowl was the national championship. And I was in line on a ride at Animal Kingdom, and there had to have been, what I swear to God, 15 Ohio State kids down from college, down hear,